Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Locked In. We're going to be talking college football week 2, or I guess technically week 3 today, if we count the Georgia Tech Florida State week 1. And we've had a few, I guess, surprises. Maybe not too many. I mean, Florida State. I mean, I don't even know if you can call that surprise if they get beat again, because I mean they're falling off the face of the earth. Poor old Knowles. But we did have some interesting games last weekend, and a couple of them, we called your attention to. One in particular was Penn State, West Virginia, and we said, well, you better bet your money on Penn State because that line was never going to happen, and it did not happen. West Virginia didn't improve that much over the year. Doesn't mean they're not a good team, but they're just not quite what people, I think, imagined them to be this year. And that Penn State bunch is pretty solid, don't you think?
Oh yeah, their run defense and their running game savior over there in Penn State.
Yeah, I mean they still playing Penn State football. They stop the run, they run it well. So good for them. Another hot start, I think, for the Nittany Lions. We'll see what they do with it. Few other teams that look pretty hot. There's lots of press for Texas. They got a big game. Tomorrow, high noon against Michigan at the Big House. Tennessee. That's another game another team that a lot of people were talking about. But which I mean, I think we're going to have to see them tomorrow night against NC State. I mean, I don't know what NC State is this year, but I know that they probably have to be a little more than the UTC Mocs. That's just my thoughts. I mean, there's some interesting stuff going on. Clemson, ooh, I bet that's an interesting place to be because it seems like they started off on the wrong foot. And I know the argument that a lot of people are making, and you really keep up closely with Georgia, and so I'd say you've heard a lot of this just on the banner back and forth this week. But a lot of people are saying, well, hey, lots of teams that have got smoked by Georgia. Yeah, probably so. But I think that's a really bad look for Clemson because I don't think that that's what they had in mind for that game. And we talked about that one last week, and and our thought was if it goes bad for Clemson, and what did we say? Did we consider anything north of about a 12-point loss was going to be pretty well catastrophic? It got pretty out of hand by the time that thing was said and done. And the thing that I wonder, and maybe we mentioned it just talking back and forth about some stuff, but I think that Dabo Swinney is running the risk of maybe what he's doing right now could be considered Clemson 2.0 because you remember back before they really got I guess really rose to the national championship level. The thing Clemson was known for was running through the ACC, getting to a bowl game, and then just getting waxed by whoever played them. And and people they'd say, oh, they're Clemson, and and Dabo took issue with that, and which he should. Good for him. He always sticks up for his team in his way, and and he figured it out. The Clemson team did, Clemson staff did. But this time, I mean, I'm almost one, and I know this is not exactly where we're going to dwell, but it's kind of what's been on my mind about that one. I think he's making a big gamble because I think that with his treatment of the transfer portal and NIL, I think that there's an argument there to be made. But boy, if he loses it, I don't know. I think he's done completely because to me, and and correct my logic, if you think I'm off, I think that he's using like a real just horse sense logic, saying there is no way that people can continue to throw multiple millions of dollars at these programs. And at the end of the day, once I guess the new has worn off of the NIL and and these various groups that are coming together to to fund these college programs, that once that kind of fades, and say maybe like for instance, say Ohio State, they bet the farm on this team they got this year. Say it doesn't work. Um, do people stop spending all these millions on building these college rosters and it go back to normal and the people who know how to recruit, who know how to do the groundwork of just old timey college football now we could call it, they're going to rise back to the top. I think that that's his argument. I mean, do you think I'm wrong?
No, I mean I think that probably is his argument and that team chemistry has a lot to do with it, and like a bond between the team to make each other play better. But you really see it with the speed against Georgia. I mean, they just can't keep up. They really can't. You saw London Humphreys, the transfer from Vanderbilt of all places, who runs a 4.340, just absolutely fly by Clemson's safety like it was nothing in that ball game. And that's one of the things. Team speed is just not there for Clemson. And I think the transfer portal has to do a lot with that, and also Dabo's recruiting strategy. I mean, he just hasn't been bringing in the best of the recruits that he used to get, and it also shows for the quarterback because I mean, you don't see no Deshaun Watson, there is no Kelly Bryant, there is no Trevor Lawrence. We've had DJ Young in which we all know what that is. He's over there losing ball games at Florida State, and now you have Cade Klubnik, which has done nothing in his career that is significant and probably will not. So I think not only is Dabo losing out in the transfer portal, but he's not recruiting the best players anymore either. And I mean, he also has an unwillingness to spend that money in the NIL. And that goes hand in hand with the recruiting now. So I mean, it really shows on their team.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, I was going to say that the two go hand in hand. And and the thing I think is, I mean, I understand his point, and I think that depending on how you look at it, it's a noble point. But I think he's being too stubborn. I think back to like when Nick Saban was, extremely bothered by the hurry up offenses, and whenever it became clear that that was the new landscape in college football, well, he hires Lane Kiffin, and he catches up with the times, and I don't know. I think that Dabo is. I think he's a good man. I think he's a good coach, and he's good for the people that that play for him. But boy, I tell you, I think he's running a risk. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to mention. Is I mean, this is risky business, and I don't know how long this is gonna last. But I guess out of the from the I guess the dark side of last week, let's move on, and we've got a major
Do we do we
major
want to
noon kickoff
do
tomorrow.
we want to talk about the Notre Dame game real quick? I know we covered that, and they was slated to lose that game, and ended up winning that game
That's
at the
right,
very last second, which was a great game at Texas A&M. And I mean, a lot of people,
definitely.
probably thought that Texas A&M was going to win that game, but I mean, Notre Dame is still no slack of a football team. I mean, they have good defense, they run the ball,
No, they're
they
not.
protect the ball, and Texas A&M will do what Texas A&M does, which is lose.
I tell you though, I mean, I'm not going to be completely down on A&M because I
No,
will say
give
that
give them a
Oklahoma have
year.
been looking pretty
Yeah,
doggone good for what
give
they
them a
were.
year.
And like you said, that's what I remember you saying that last year. You said give them a year, and let's see where they're at. They'll be fine. I mean, I think that was a dadgum good debut. In a primetime game against a really good Notre Dame team. It's a good game. I mean, just a good game all the way around. And I mean, I know that Texas A&M's not looking for moral victories, but I think that I think it could have they could have had a worse result.
Yeah.
So good for them. Good for Notre Dame. I mean, that was a good primetime game. For that week one, and that was another one. Like you said, when we saw it, we're like, I don't think so. And that was it was another good pick. So um, we'll see.